Buenos dias, ladies and gentlemen, or whatever time of the day you guys happen to find yourselves listening to this lecture. And I'm sorry that my fabulous face cannot be present for you on this occasion for this lecture and this lesson because my webcam is currently non functional. You gotta love technology. But as we're moving into our founding documents, in this wonderful government class, we will be reviewing the founding documents of the Estados Unidos, America, and with this lecture, we're going to spend 10 to 12 minutes going over your introduction to your documents, standards, what's expected of you, and then we'll finish out with the lesson. Everything is on your Google Drives and your Google systems, so you'll be able to complete it online. And I have pictures and links here for you. And overall, you'll be working in groups, and I know that can be tedious if you are not, in person, but that's why we're doing it on Google. And if you're in person with your partner, fabulous. So let's roll. So today we're going over our essential question. This is what you should be able to answer by the end of the class period. Why were there changes to the founding documents of America? Think about the Constitution. Has there been changes to that? Why was there changes? Did we use a first document that we later said, nah, we don't like that anymore? And think about the strengths and weaknesses of each document that we go over in class. So you should be able to answer the strengths and weaknesses of each of the documents that we are going over today. So, yes, nice, long, big paragraph. But this is the standard of the day. You know, we go over this every day. So, your job, what you should be able to do based on the state of South Carolina, is you should be able to interpret the founding documents and principles that led to the creation of the American constitutional democracy. This indicator was developed to encourage inquiry into the historical and philosophical origins of an American constitutional government presented in the founding documents, which provide the structural and framework on which the nation is governed. This indicator also encourages inquiry into the ideas that influenced the framers of the Constitution and their contributions to the creation of the Constitution. Basically, what it's saying is y'all need to be able to know why the founding fathers were thinking, or why the founding fathers thought that these documents would be good, and why they made the changes at the time, or voted or didn't vote for certain things, why they used certain documents, why they didn't use certain documents, and what led them to their decision making. Up until this point, we've been covering why the founding fathers had these ideas. We went over, um, the Enlightenment, we went over the Greek influences, we went over the Roman influences. We've kind of reviewed the American history up until this point, and we're going to go into a little bit more review before we get into the heart of the lesson. But what you need to remember is these are the standards that you will be tested on at the end of the year. And yeah, awesome. All right. So you guys know every day, go on your Google Forms. I just sent you one. This is your introduction question. I'll give you guys, well, we're online right now, so you have as much time as you need to answer this, but you need to answer this Google form before you get into your lesson. And it's basically just what you know before, it's just asking what you do know before we get into the lesson. What do I know about the founding documents of the United States? What did they protect? So think about rights, civil liberties, that jazz. What acts do they protect? What, life, liberty, and property? Maybe, I don't know, maybe that. What power did they give the government? And have these documents changed? Like individually, you can think of more than one. And when I say founding documents, the Declaration of Independence is usually called the founding document, but I'm thinking about all the documents that the founding fathers worked on. So Take as much time you need to do that. I'd say 2 to 3 minutes. Don't overthink it. But yeah, let's get into the heart of the lesson and a little bit of review. All right. So, you guys know we went over the influences on the American institutions and the founding documents. So we have the Magna Carta, we have the Greeks and the Romans with their republic and their democracies and their thoughts and ideas on that. Then you also have Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Rousseau, the Enlightenment thinkers with their ideas on liberty, life, everything like that. So that all influenced the founding fathers to write the Declaration of Independence. As you all know, July 4th, 1776, America's birthday. Woo! It is a formal declaration of separation, independence to the British King. As if you want to think about it in your generational kind of thing, or your generational kind of slang, it is America's breakup letter to the United Kingdom. We said, here's all the things you did us dirty by. This is what you've done wrong. And bye. This is why we're leaving. Catch me outside. But in more proper talk, in speech, it addresses the grievances that the founding fathers, the colonies had with the king. You know, taxes, imprisonment without due process. And it gets at the core of the idea is that all men are created equal, which, you know, where they're going to have to go back and address at a later date with the all men part, and that all men were given the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you remember, John Locke said life, liberty, and property. They kind of switched it up, changed it. And it didn't necessarily kick off the American Revolution. Like, there was a little bit of time before, like, the fighting happened, but it was another event taking a step, because we talked about how the American Revolution was more of a kettle boiling, and then everything started getting real hot, and like people started shooting at each other. But yeah, okay, onward to the new material. All right, Articles of Confederation, new stuff. Follow along in your guided notes. There's certain things you need to write down. So, it's the first governing document of the United States, signed into law in 1777. So, let's just break it down by the good things and the bad things. It is a governing document that establishes ties between the different colonies, states in the future, to keep them together during the war and afterwards. So, the strength of it is it establishes the Northwest Ordinances, and it was a loose confederation of states, but two big things that established the Northwest Ordinances and kept the states together. Cons. Congress had no real power to coin money. Each state was printing and making their own money. They also had no power to tax. Also, Congress was unable to regulate interstate commerce and foreign commerce, so each state did that, which meant they didn't have taxes on interstate foreign commerce. Well, just mention the taxes. And weak to really non-existent executive branch. So with no executive branch and no taxes, no money, there's no real army. There's no real way to form an army. There's no money to create that. And it's just real cumbersome for them to get anything done. So it required 9 of the 13 states to pass anything through. All right, so the good and the bad of the Articles of Confederation, we're going to hit this real quick. Shays Rebellion. This rebellion demonstrates one of the biggest weaknesses. It's a rebellion where it was during high taxes and during economic hardships. These men rose up and they rebelled against their towns and courts in Massachusetts, and it showed the ineptitude of the federal government to raise an army in order to put this rebellion down. So it showed the weakness, and it gathered and garnered support for a constitutional Congress. The good, the Northwest Ordinances. So these 5 states were all made due to the Northwest Ordinances, but also it established, and this was carried over into the Constitution, how states joined the Union. It banned slavery in these 5 states, and it guaranteed the freedom of religion, property rights, everything within these states. It also stated that states need to provide a free education, and it set up how towns and capitals should look. But yeah, so it did. There was good and bad. A lot more bad, but there was good in the Articles of Confederation. So, structures of the Constitution. So we have a preamble, we have an articles, and we have our amendments. Our amendments, Bill of Rights kind of deal, we're going to say for next. What we're looking at is the preamble and articles. So the Constitution, when it is designed, its articles set up how the government's going to be established. That's the first 3. The legislative branch was a compromise between the Virginia and the New Jersey plan. These 2 plans basically established the Senate and the Congress, the House of Representatives, I should say. My bad. With this, the Senate is more based on the New Jersey plan, where each state, no matter how many people live in the state, get an equal representation. Hence, 2 senators from every state. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives is based on population, which is what the Virginia plan pushed for. Then you have the executive branch, based on the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. There should be a commander-in-chief. This portion delegates his powers, everything like that. Then the justice system, which is a part 3 of the Articles. Then basically how the states should interact with each other, how you make amendments, what are the federal powers, and how they, enumerate those powers, and how do you ratify amendments to the Constitution. Now, there was holdouts to the passing of the Constitution. These men thought that there should be a guaranteed Bill of Rights, and that's why we have the Bill of Rights and the other amendments. So, going into the Bill of Rights, here's the first 5 amendments to the Bill of Rights. Freedom of speech, number 1, numero uno. So, it's not just freedom of speech, it's freedom of religion and freedom of press. There's also the Supreme Court has enumerated many other protections under this amendment. Then you have the Second Amendment, very highly debated how far this is still established, and, well, not established, how far this reaches. It's your right to bear arms. Then, Third Amendment prohibits the government from quartering troops in your home. It draws back to the the Revolutionary War. Fourth Amendment, it's your right to privacy. And Fifth Amendment, it is your right to see who accused you of a crime. So, and innocent until proven guilty. Here's your other amendments. I did a whoopsie. I got my amendments all confused and misarranged, but we'll just roll with it. Under the Sixth Amendment, you have the right to a speedy and public trial. Sometimes trials can still last years, but the Constitution protects your right to a quick and speedy trial. Seventh Amendment, over on the right, it's your right to have a trial by your peers and a jury. Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, so the government cannot, torture you or do things like that. There's still many instances of occurrences that can be, called cruel and unusual punishment. Ninth Amendment recognizes that Americans have more rights than are enumerated in the Constitution, hence why there are more amendments to the Constitution, and the Supreme Court can protect rights based on their judgment. 10th Amendment, final one, that all power not given to the federal government is thereby given to the states. Awesome. All right, now since you understand everything about all the founding documents, it's time for a test. I'm joking. So, this activity time, you have been given your Kagan partners. You know who they are. Each table, there are 4 of you. You have your shoulder partners and you have your front partners. So, what you're going to do is with your shoulder partners, who's the person sitting directly next to you, you're going to break up into 2 groups per table. So there should be 2 of you. You're going to investigate the founding documents of other countries. Group A, you know, your desks are labeled A and B. You know who you are. So Group A, you're going to look into the basic, they're the governing document of the Republic of Germany, which is just Germany. Then Group B is going to look into the Japanese Constitution. The links are provided right there. You have access to this PowerPoint, so you can click on the links. Then you all have the ability to go to the Khan Academy, which is your learning tool, because they break down the U.S. Constitution. Then each one of these sites break down each one of their constitutions, preamble, different articles. What you're going to do is first, each group is going to look at the documents, read them. They're longer, so you don't have to read exactly every portion, but you're going to read a good bit of each. And then we're going to go over the activities on the following slide. So first, you're going to look at the document right here. This document, the 3-2-1 assignment. Whoop. That's going to be the first thing you do. We've done them many times. So you're going to look at the German Constitution and the Japanese Constitution. You're going to write down 3 facts, 2 questions, 1 thing you won't forget. That should take you 15 minutes. Then you're going to come together as a group and you're going to complete a Venn diagram, which is set up right here, 3-way Venn diagram. Pardon my bad highlighting. So in each one of these, you're going to write US. Oh, I'm not even going to try and write that. Let's just erase that. But you're going to have the USA in one. Put USA in this one. Put Japan in this one. Put Germany in this one. Then you're going to, you know how a Venn diagram works. You're going to compare and contrast each one of the documents. So you're going to write down things that are different between the German, Japanese, and U.S. constitutions in each one, and then in the middle portions you'll write how they're similar. Your Khan Academy learning tool provides videos and breakdowns of the U.S. Constitution and each one of the direct links to the German and Japanese constitutions. Break down into sections, define, and provide videos for you. So you are going to have the rest of this class period, even though it's online, to do this. So work with your partners and then come together as a whole group and do this assignment.